This is the 2024 State of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Good evening to the people of the city of Regina, the people of the province of Saskatchewan, of course the citizens of Canada, the United States, and anywhere else that is currently watching this 2024 edition of the State of the Roughriders here on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, YouTube, or any other platform you end up finding this. We have come once again to the conclusion of another year of Saskatchewan Roughrider football, and just more disappointment. This is the 7th annual Riders Report, I believe. The first one started back in 2018, kind of as a joke. Then 2019, it was a little bit more serious. 2020, we had to deal with the season being canceled because of COVID. 2021 is the year the Riders Report actually started. And then, of course, the end of season, State of the Riders, and then 2022, and then on and thereforth. It only grew from there. I come to you much like I have many other years. It is a loss in the West Final to Winnipeg. That's really, there have only been two ways the Riders Report have gone. It's either been a loss in the West Final to Winnipeg or not making the playoffs at all. So the more things change, the more things stay the same on that front. We come in this year off a okay year, I guess I would say. I mean, getting to the West Final is, no small feat, especially given last year being a first-year head coach this year under Corey Mace, who I think he did a good job for what he was given. It's always difficult when a season comes to an end, especially this abruptly when I won't say it was a blowout, but kind of was in that West Final. That score makes it appear much closer than it actually was. It's always difficult because you got to look at the macro and then you got to look at the micro. The micro is obviously the ending of the season in the West Final, but if you look at the macro, this team compared to last year looked quite better. You can't deny that. Making the playoffs, that's huge. Under a first-year head coach, much improved on both sides of the ball, even though there are still some things that need to be figured out a lot. You still saw development, and I think that's all you could ask of this season. But you do still look at other parts of the season when, it was basically, I think it was either late June or the beginning of July, all the way through September, like we didn't win a game. We had a tie thrown in there, which resulted in one of the funnier Riders Reports moments of all time when, you record a Riders Report because you think the game's over in overtime. It turns out there was a flag, and then the game ends up in a tie, so you got to do another one. That was on me this year. But, that was still, I think, one of the more funnier moments of the Riders Report this season. But winning our first game post-Labor Day since 2021, the fact that that's even a stat, that's huge. We won multiple games past Labor Day this year, which, again, given the past 2 years, is quite the feat. I think that says something about where Craig Dickinson had this team at in latter parts of the season in previous years. I think we leave with questions, though. With that being obviously the quarterback position, I think that's still a major question. I'm sure the media will get into that as we get into the media portion coming up soon. But defensively, I think it was a good year. It wasn't a great year. It's not like where some of those teams were. Like in 2019, we had a phenomenal defense. It was the offense that couldn't work. We just slowly upgrading, I feel like, is what this team is planning on doing, which I think is kind of the way to go because we're not completely in a win now mode right now because Winnipeg's going to their 5th straight Grey Cup. Winnipeg has been, no matter how their season has started, they always find a way to finish at the end. They've won the West 5 years in a row, 2019, 2021, 22, 23, and 24. In modern CFL times, I mean, that is a run for the ages. You cannot deny it. It's a brilliant run. So you can't really argue with that. So it's disappointing, but we kind of gotta wait a little bit before we take that next jump, because Winnipeg shows no signs of stopping. Even though we were a missed field goal away from hosting this West Final and potentially having the tables flipped here, we're still. I don't think we're there for that next step yet. So, given that, overall, I'd say the season macro was a success. Obviously, the ending of it, much failure. But I mean, this team had like the second worst odds to win the Grey Cup this year coming into the season. So to even make it to be one of the last four, I think that's a big statement. So given that, we're going to finally hit the media floor. We're going to start taking questions from the media, and we shall begin right now with this question.
Sam Emilus, the leading receiver for the Roughriders, is under a 1-year contract extension through the 2025 season. Are you looking to extend him long-term, or are you looking to kind of evaluate your options going into the 2025 season?
You know, that's a great question. Justin Walsh, of course, a great member of the media. He has covered the CFL most of this year. That's an outstanding question about Emilus. He has been one of our major pieces on offense this year. I mean, in the West Final, when, Trevor Harris was throwing murder balls into double coverage, it seemed like Emilus was the only one catching them. So I would love to lock him up long term. I know the way the cap works and contracts work in the CFL, that may not truly be realistic. I'd at least like to keep him short term, like to enjoy him while he's here, because you never know, he could be gone the next day. But I'm expecting bigger things from Sam Emilus next year if he is back with the Riders. We will now go to the next question.
Matt Eberflus for defensive coordinator of the Roughriders.
Well, thank you for that, Jada Coster. I don't know what to say to that because it's not really a question, but Matt Eberflus is an interesting candidate. I don't really think we're looking for a coordinator position right now. I gladly sent him to Winnipeg, though. That would just be outstanding for him, I think, and outstanding for the Blue Bombers to take on a coach like Matt Eberflus. Let's take the next question.
Owner Burt, I just would like to ask, AJ Willett, your team's leading rusher this year, only had over 500 yards, just over 500 yards, but was averaging 4 yards a carry. I would just, didn't have a lot of explosive runs this year. Would you like to see the offensive line get addressed in the offseason to kind of improve the run game? Would you like to see the team go more run heavy? I know your quarterback situation is not the best. How do you think that is going to be addressed come the summer?
That's a very fair question, Matt Merrifield. Ouellette had games where he was injured this year. Obviously, that factors into, those rushing yards and all that. But I think the biggest factor out of all of this is the offensive line. The offensive line, I think, it has been musical chairs all year. You have to find some stability in that offensive line position before you even can consider going anywhere. I think that kind of factored into Ouellette not having a as outstanding year as people thought he would in his first year in Saskatchewan. Given that, I'm expecting more from him next year. I'm expecting a better offensive line next year, which will help him. I mean, if we look at that game against Winnipeg in the West Final, running the ball was crucial in that game, and we couldn't get anything going with AJ Ouellette. That man is built like a Viking, and we couldn't get him going just because that offensive line is just treacherous. So if we can fix the offensive line woes, I think a lot of things fall into place after that. It's kind of a domino effect. Once you figure out the offensive line, I think everything kind of slowly gradually gets better from there. We'll go back to the media floor for the next question.
How's the injury report looking, owner Burt?
That's a more fair question, Jay DeCoster. It's not just a statement about your current your current coach. But the injury report, obviously, by the end of the season, it was not good. The injury report was not good. Felt like half the team was at least questionable, going into playoff games, which isn't the way it should be. I'm hoping we go into this season 100% healthy in 2025. With whoever we have coming in, I'm hoping that it's 100% health. I'm not expecting any of these injuries to linger into next year, so that is a positive. I'm really looking forward to next year, though, when all these injuries are gone, and hopefully we don't start picking up new ones early on in the season. Back for the next question.
So obviously with starting quarterback Trevor Harris being kind of up there in age, he just turned 38 this past year. Are you potentially looking at going after any quarterbacks from any different leagues, or are you looking to kind of build with what you got in Shea Patterson?
The quarterback position, that's a great question, Jay Walsh, because you do mention Trevor Harris getting up there in age. The 2 seasons he's been in Saskatchewan, he has been injured for a vast amount of weeks. I mean, this year it was at the beginning of the season. Last year it was at the end of the season. You got to start considering things here. I believe he has a year left on his contract, I believe. You got to start considering some succession plans here. I 100% do not believe Shea Patterson should be in those succession plans. I think Shea Patterson should be one of the first, people being considered elsewhere, not here, because I just don't think he fits here. Given that, I honestly don't think the whole quarterback room is the greatest. I think Trevor Harris is good. He's not great. Shea Patterson, we know what we have with him. Jack Cohn, I don't think he's good either. I think if the opportunity is there, you go get Vernon Adams from BC, because I don't think they're trading Nathan Rourke. I think they've made their bed. They're going to sleep in it with Nathan Rourke. With the money they've given him, they're going to be over the cap this year because of it. You can't have 2 quarterbacks making that kind of money. They're going to have to get rid of one of them. I'm expecting it to be Vernon Adams. If Saskatchewan can find a way to pull that off, I think that might be a step in the right direction. If not, there's a name that I mentioned in last year's State of the Roughriders. I was hoping he declared last year. Instead, he comes back to college this year, transfers to another school, and now, with the way he's playing, I don't know if he plays it down in Canada. And that is, of course, Nathan's brother Curtis, who is now at Indiana, currently 10-0 Indiana. I would love to see him in the CFL. I called for him last year when he was an Ohio Bobcat. He could have teamed up with, of course, another Ohio alumni, AJ Ouellette. But with the way he's playing now, I honestly just don't see a way of him playing in the CFL, honestly. I think he ends up making a career out of being on practice squads or, emergency third QBs in the NFL, just with the way he's played. Other than that, I don't think there's going to be much option free agent-wise this year. People coming from America. I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle there. But I think those should be your 2 main targets going into this offseason at that quarterback position. We'll go for the next question.
Owner Burt, there have been reports that Winnipeg is interested in bringing the Rough Riders to Winnipeg to have a second team. I would just like to know what your thoughts are. Are you moving the team, sir?
Matt, I don't know where you got your sources from on this one. The Riders are not leaving Saskatchewan. They're not leaving Regina. And they sure as hell aren't going to Winnipeg. I can 1,000% guarantee you that. We'll take the next question from the media.
3 questions. What is the biggest need for the Saskatchewan Roughriders this offseason? As an owner, how do you feel about this season overall? 1 game away from the Cup. Disappointing. When will you be heading to Saskatchewan for a game? Come on.
Thank you, Cy, for those questions. The second question I think has kind of been answered at the beginning. Macro, it's a success, and micro, kind of a bit of a failure, being 1 win away from making the Grey Cup. I'll go to your first question first of what the biggest need for this team in the offseason is. I think I've said it before, and I keep saying it, offensive line. That is the number 1 key issue this offseason. We need to invest in a strong offensive line that's going to stop defensive lines and give quarterbacks and running backs time to make moves. That is what this team needs to do this offseason. And to your third question, when will I be going to Saskatchewan for a game? That's a question I keep asking myself, because the Riders Report in recent years has become global. It started out, locally, here in this studio or in the basement of this studio. Then it went to East Lansing. Past East Lansing, it went to London, England, not London, Ontario, London, England. We had one in Vegas this year. It wasn't truly a real Riders Report. I didn't want to disrupt the people enjoying the time at the Dead & Company concert. The Riders also, I'm pretty sure, lost that game. Didn't really want to do a Riders Report during that. But, there was a Riders Report still technically in Vegas. The Riders Report has been everywhere, except at Mosaic Stadium. At some point, it's going to have to happen at Mosaic Stadium. And I sure hope that it is sooner rather than later. I'd love nothing more than to do a live Riders Report after a Riders game at Mosaic Stadium. There would truly be no bigger joy for this show than doing one where it all began. And we'll take the last media question back over here.
Owner Burt, this is Matt Merrifield, the president of the Merrifield Sportsbook. Just want to congratulate the Riders on a good first year. I was a part of our partnership, making the playoffs for the first time since 2021. I just wanted to ask for your thoughts on our partnership and if it will continue going into the future.
I think, Matt, thank you for that question and for the opportunity. To bring the Merrifield Sportsbook over to the Riders Report has been a complete joy this year. I will say it may be part of the success that brought us here this year, at least to the playoffs. You can definitely notice a correlation. The first year of the Riders Report being sponsored by the Merrifield Sportsbook, the Riders make the playoffs. Wish it was the Grey Cup, but it's still the playoffs. It's a step there. I hope this partnership continues long term. This has been a great partnership for this team, for this show, for this community. It's worked tremendously. Hopefully we actually do more next year. That would be very exciting for both the Merrifield Sportsbook and the Riders Report. I truly can't wait to get it done, and I cannot thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to put the Merrifield Sportsbook on an international stage. So given that, we will close media availability. As I will close with some closing thoughts. I did mention back prior to the playoffs, I believe in the last Riders Report before the playoffs, the announcement came that Commissioner Randy Ambrosi would be stepping down. I threw my hat in the ring and said, you'll hear more details about it during the State of the Roughriders. Well, here we are. I'm going to put this hat back on. Nick Burt 2025, reviving tradition, igniting passion. You probably still can't even read this, but I am so excited to throw my hat in the ring for CFL Commissioner, because it would truly be a great joy for me to run this league. There have been major problems these past 2 years under, I think we've had two. Randy lasted a while, but I think overall his tenure, little bit of a failure, honestly. We got to find a way to get back to the communities. We constantly see attendance dwindling. That's not good. Yes, we're seeing attendance rise for the playoffs, but you got to get fans in the stands in July and August when the weather's nice and the football's fun. I don't know what that's going to consist of. I honestly don't think we need to look a ton at the rules. I know a lot of people are saying we need to adapt to 4-down football. 3-down football makes the CFL special. People are saying we need to get rid of the Rouge. The Rouge makes the CFL successful. I don't see a world where the CFL isn't playing 3-down football with the goalposts at the front of the end zone and there be a possibility of a Rouge. I don't see a world where that's not happening. I think one of the main things for this league, one, take a look at the TV contracts because I think those are coming up at some point soon. And you gotta find a 10th team. You have to find a 10th team. I know there's a lot of rumors swirling about, oh, this location may be good or this location may be good. It's about who has the money to bring in a team to a location. Where is a owner that wants to bring a team to the Maritimes? Where is an owner that wants to bring a team to Quebec City or London or Chatham, Kent or Windsor or Saskatoon or who knows, maybe even Victoria? I don't know. You got to find an owner willing to invest the money into this product to make it a viable product. But like I said, it's getting back to the grassroots, finding a 10th team, and honestly, just getting it to the next generation. I think that kind of mixes in with the grassroots, but we got to find a way to get it to the next generation. We got to make sure the CFL not only lives, but thrives. We got to find a way to do that. And hopefully as commissioner, I can find ways to do that. And so I will take my campaign hat off once again. But we're going to end in closing here. Obviously, wearing the poppy today here on Remembrance Day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the ending of World War I, and a day to solemnly remember all of those who have made the true sacrifice. So we, of course, thank all those men, women, and, of course, the pets who have also died. Those are very much overlooked of those who have died in all wars. It's a very solemn day. So in closing, it has been a good season for the Riders. I truly cannot wait until next year. And hopefully, by some miracle, this Riders Report is taking place a week later next year. We are celebrating our 5th ever Grey Cup in Winnipeg. Might I add, the next year's Grey Cup is in Winnipeg. Wouldn't that be nice? But hopefully next year is the year that we are finally crowned Grey Cup champions once again. Thank you, everybody, and good night.